And all right, and we're live. So test grades are in Jupyter. Those of you who are here or whom I knew to send it to, you've got them. The average on this test was pretty good. It was, give me a second, while it loads. Average on the test was an 85. So pretty good. Could have been a little bit better, but still pretty good. Open it up. Any questions you want to go over from this test? Anything you're not sure why you lost credit on? I saw a lot of guys, it's 845. Saw a lot of guys lose credit. Anything you're not sure why you lost credit on? I saw a lot of guys, it's 845. Saw a lot of guys lose credit not writing units. Not that any one of those will hurt you very much, but please remember your units. Other thing I noticed was not everybody was careful with that first problem. One about sets of numbers to use your curly brackets. When we're talking about sets of numbers, you have to use the curly brackets.
I did. I was still marking.
Yeah, because you didn't put the dots on either end. You also have to use the ellipses. Those triple dots. The word is ellipsis. It means leaving something out, and the plural is ellipses. You got to use the ellipses to show in which directions it continues infinitely. So if we're talking about whole numbers or natural numbers, you need to have an ellipsis at the end to indicate that it goes on forever. Positive numbers. If you're talking about integers, you have to have them on both ends. Yes?
I'm assuming we don't have corrections, right?
Corrections are, yes, you can do corrections. Corrections will be due.
No, but why do we have corrections if you put the answer on the paper?
Did I?
You put the ellipsis.
Yeah, well, it was only 1 point, wasn't it?
I do.
Well, maybe there was another mistake. Good morning.
Good morning. Sorry.
Thank you. Going over the test. Yeah, we're going over the test. Here you go. You know, every time speaking to Mass had this tag here, I always think for half a second that it's an earbud that you have in, but it's not. Just there on the edge. Yeah. Because I see like this little white thing by your ear. Anyway, obviously it's not. Okay. What else? Other questions you want to talk about from this test? Anything you have questions about test corrections? Let's say Wednesday. If you want bounce back points on any of those, you can get half credit back on any problem that you lost 2, 3, or 4 points on. But please, if you're doing corrections, I want you to show your work. If you don't show me the work, you just write an answer. Well, all that means is you found the right answer somewhere. I want to know that you can show me how to do that. 2 points? 2 points usually means that there was a mistake that was significant but not major. So if, for example, on that last one, you added those lengths instead of subtracting them, then I would, and you did it correct. If you did that and you did it correctly, if you correctly added them, I'd take 2 points off. If you incorrectly added them, I'd probably take 3 points off. Actually, I'd definitely take 3 points off. You only lose 4 if you didn't do anything. So keep that in mind for the future. That as long as you give me something that resembles an attempt, a good faith effort to solve the problem, you get at least 1 point. Other questions?
Yeah.
I'll go over anything on the board that you want to go over. So,
Wait, but then how will we correct them?
that's why you have to write out your work.
Huh? I'm so confused, like, how do we have corrections if like you're gonna give us, not give us answers, show us?
So you have to show me that you can do it correctly. That's why you have to write out your work. Any that anyone wants to go over? If you're at home, anything you want to go over? All right, but in general, as I said, the average was 85, just over an 85. So there weren't any major issues on this. I was pretty pleased in general. Make sure you know what you're doing in terms of adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing fractions. That's the other thing. It's going to keep coming up all year. Last call. Test review. Going once. Going twice.
13.
Okay.
Wait, what did we ask about?
Hmm?
I'm not-
Any questions on the
Number
test?
14.
Number 14, all right, yes, dividing fractions. 6 3/8 over 4 1/4. All right, how do I want to rewrite this?
Make it fixed numbers.
They are mixed numbers. Give them proper fractions. What else do I want to do when I rewrite this?
Flip one of them over so that you divide.
Well, let's wait to do that. We're going to rewrite this as a division sign, right? Yes. Yeah, leaving them on top of the bottom of the fraction like that, because we know we're going to be doing keep, change, flip, it's easier to do if we write them side by side like this. All right, so that top 6 3/8, when we convert that to a mixed number, what do we get?
6 times 8 is 48, and then plus 3 is 51.
So 51 over 8, yep, and then 4 1/4 becomes
4 times 4 is 16, plus 1 is 17. 17 over 4.
17 over 4. All right, now what do we do?
You flip 51 over 8.
No,
Oh, you make,
Nate, the divide, the
Key.
sign multiplication.
change,
oh,
flip, do those three in order.
51 over 8.
51 over 8 we keep.
Mhm.
Times 4 over 17.
Yes, keep, change, flip. So we kept the 51 over 8, we changed division to multiplication, and we flipped 17 over 4.
You can simplify 8 over 4.
Yes, so 8 becomes what?
8 becomes 4, 4 becomes 1.
No. We're dividing them both by what?
4.
So 8 divided by 4 is,
8 becomes 2.
yeah.
And 4 becomes 1.
What else can we simplify here?
17 becomes 1 and 15.
Yes. 17 times 3 is 51. In my opinion, that comes up 51 feels like it might be a prime number. It actually isn't. How can we tell that 51 is not a prime number?
Because it has a 1.
Because
Because it is odd.
it adds to.
Almost all prime numbers are odd. There's only one even prime number. It's 2. It's odd. It doesn't end with a 5. How can we tell that this is not a prime number, 51?
Because it has both.
Because 5 plus 1 is 6. So what does that tell us? Right. If we add the digits together and we can divide that number by 3, then we can divide the whole thing by 3. Since 5 plus 1 is 6, we can divide 6 by 3. We know that 51 can be divided by 3. And when we divide 51 by 3, we get 17. So make sure you're checking things like that. Then we're going to multiply across and we'll get 3 over 2, or 1 1/2. The 15 is equal to 17 times 3. Yep. Number 2, that's just a factual question. From, what lesson is that? It's like lesson 4, I think.
Am I able to redo number 1? I got minus 1 on that.
Nope. Sorry.
I got mine.
Yep. Yeah, so make sure you know. You don't need to know for this. So there are a few different things that we have here. We've got parentheses, we've got square brackets. These are both used in terms of like an order of operations. We've also got pipes, which say absolute value, but they also count as parentheses. The other thing we have is curly brackets. Okay, if you're not good at drawing them, that's okay. You can write them like this if you really want to, or like if you have to do that, it's fine. You don't have to be able to draw them nicely, but they should be distinct from either parentheses or square brackets. That's fine. Yeah, as long as it's clear that it's a squiggly bracket, that's fine. If you want to know how to write them, it's sort of like an S on top of a 2, and on the other side it's a 2 on top of an S, kind of like that. But I'm not grading you on your penmanship. I want to know that you can't use the square brackets or the parentheses for that, because it means something different. Sometimes you will see curly brackets used as order of operations. So for example, if we have like 5 times 3, okay, 4 plus 5 times 3, 6 times that, right, you might have something like this. Sometimes Saxon will give you problems like this, where you've got 3 different types of parentheses nested inside of each other. Usually we use parentheses, then we use square brackets, then if we have to, we use curly brackets. Here the curly brackets just are another set of parentheses. But when we're writing a set, like for problem number 1, we're talking about sets of the real numbers, then we have to use curly brackets. Other questions about this test? Number 2, look that one up in the book. I believe that's lesson 4. You don't need to know all the terms for the different numbers in our basic operations, but you should know what the result of each one is.
I forgot that.
Well,
I remember doing it on my grades. I got something in place.
What else? Anything else?
We're not learning lessons like that.
Unfortunately, we got to keep going.
Or you just need to do that.
Take a day off. We just took a weekend off. All right.
That's the Mr. Foster thing.
I'm pretty sure it's notes giving us like a.
Yeah. Those notes are so annoying.
Yeah, I need to have that next this.
All right. Take out your textbooks.
Wait, it was like.
Go to page 54, please. Oh, look, we just talked a little bit about this. We're just going to cover 12 really quickly.
We already did.
Are we
And
gonna
then
have
13.
the lesson set in class?
Did we do 12? I don't think we did 12.
Wait, if we're doing 12, every time we're gonna have a test, like, tomorrow?
No, because we did this test just before 12 instead of just after 12. We did this test
No, I
slightly.
guess that's Wednesday.
No, we'll have a test after 16.
Thanks.
This was the test that you take after 12. The first test comes after 8.
So it's not, we had stuff from 12 on.
No, because the tests only cover up to 4 lessons behind where you are. So the first test you take after lesson 8, but it only covers material up to lesson 4. The second test you take after lesson 12 and only covers material up to lesson 8. So there'll never be stuff on the tests that you haven't seen. There'll never be stuff on the tests that's new either. It's always from at least 3 or 4 lessons. I'm not going to do a problem set for lesson 12. So I just want to talk about it really quickly. Order of operations, we were talking about last week. PEMDAS, really quickly. Tell me what each of these things stands for.
Parentheses, exponent, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction.
Yes, and what else am I going to say about each of these things?
That they're good.
That they're good.
That's the order you do it. Go from pen to the P to the X. In order.
No, we're not allowed.
Remember that multiplication and division happen at the same time, and addition and subtraction happen at the same time. It's really only 4 steps, not, only 4 steps, not 6.
Okay.
The other thing that we want to cover at 12 here is when we talk about parentheses, we don't only mean literally parentheses. We also mean other symbols of inclusion. Symbols of inclusion are these various symbols that we use to put other things in and that we have to do first. So parentheses, brackets, and the curly brackets, these are all just sort of different levels of the same thing. So here, when we've got multiple sets of parentheses, we work from the inside out. So we do 5 times 3 first, right? Then we get 4 plus 15 here. Then we do the next innermost set of parentheses. 4 plus 15 is 19. And then do the next one. 6 times 19 is, anybody?
6 times 19.
Mm-hmm.
Times
Do
19.
that.
Yes, you can.
And
Yes, you can.
wait.
If you're multiplying a 2-digit number by a 1-digit number, it's actually pretty easy.
Yeah.
6 times 19 is the same as saying 6 times 10 plus 6 times 9.
Wonderful.
Yes, 114. Right? Because 6 times 10 is 60, 6 times 9 is 54, 114. All right, and then our answer is 117. Notice how I went from the inside out when I've got these parentheses. The other thing that's included in our symbols of inclusion are these pipes. The absolute value pipes count, not only do they tell you to take the absolute value of the thing that's inside, but first they count as parentheses. So if, for example, we have this, let's see that, 3 times the absolute value of negative 5 plus 4. What do we do first here? What's the first thing that we do if we want to find the value of this?
You do the things inside of the
Right, so we're going to do what?
5 minus 4, which is
Not 5
negative
minus 4,
5,
Negative 5
negative 5 plus 4.
which we get?
Negative 1.
Okay, so 3 times inside the pipe's negative 1. Now what do we do?
3 times 1. 3 times positive 1.
Right, so we make this one positive, that's what the pipes tell us to do, and then we can do our multiplication. We'll get 3. Don't make the mistake, because I see guys do this sometimes, where they write, instead of doing negative 5 plus 4 first, they make both of those things positive. And so they rewrite it as, don't write this, that's why I'm going to write a not equal sign. They do this, they do 5 plus 4 inside there. Don't do that. You take,
Yeah, that makes sense.
all right, that's it for lesson 12. Page 57, lesson 13. Pretty much the same thing. So we might have, if you look at the top of page 58, you see this long expression where you've got multiple different levels of parentheses there. Let's just quickly do this on the board together, just because it's good to see it, even though they do there for you. You can look at it also. Actually, let's do example 2. So example 13.2 on 58. So we've got negative 3, curly bracket, square bracket, parenthesis. Negative 2 minus 3, parenthesis, square bracket. That's annoying. Negative 2 inside some more square brackets, curly bracket, over negative 3, parenthesis, 4 minus 2. Now the other thing to remember is that when we have a fraction like this, we do the stuff on the top of the fraction and the bottom of the fraction before we divide. This fraction here, this is the last thing to happen. You do all of this, then you do all of this, and then we divide. All right, because this line here is in a sense another symbol of inclusion, and it means all the stuff on the top and all the stuff on the bottom are inside parentheses, so to speak. So what are we going to do here?
First, negative 2 plus negative 3.
Right, so let's get rid of the subtraction here. Negative 2 plus negative 3. This one will become what? 4 minus 2 will have 4 plus negative 2. You don't always have to do that, but it's not a bad habit to get in. It's a good process to be familiar with, because later on it's going to become easier to do a lot of things that way. All right, now what do we do? Let's just look at the top right now. Only look at the top, because remember, we do the top, the whole top and the whole bottom before we fractionize it. Negative 2 plus 3. Now we can tell because that's in the innermost set of parentheses. The round parentheses will be the innermost set. So negative 2 plus 3 gives us what?
Negative 5.
Negative 5. So notice, one thing you can do with these, it requires a lot of writing out, but it'll help you not lose track of things, is if you rewrite the whole thing after each step. So notice all they've done here is they did negative 2 plus negative 3, and I got that. Now what are we going to do on the top? Let's keep going on the top. What am I going to get next? So we've got negative 3, curly bracket, square bracket, negative 5, square bracket, negative 2, square bracket, curly bracket. What do we get?
Negative 10. Oh, yeah, 10.
Where do we get 10?
Negative 2 times negative 5.
Right, we do negative 2 times negative 5 because we're inside the parentheses now. Now there's nothing to do inside either of these sets of square brackets. But inside these curly brackets, we have negative 5 times negative 2. Remember, when there's no sign, it means multiplication. So we've got negative 3, curly bracket, 10. And as you guys correctly said, -5 times -2 is going to give you +10. All right, now what do we do on top?
30, -30.
-30, all right. In order to go any further, we're going to have to wait and see what happens on the bottom, because now we've gotten the top as simplified as we can. Okay, what are we going to do on the bottom? On the bottom,
2,
what?
-3 parentheses 2.
Yes, 4 plus -2 gives us 2 there. All right, now what do we do here?
-6.
-6, all right. Great, we can carry that over. Now that we've simplified the top and simplified the bottom, now that we've done both of those, now we can deal with this dividing line, this fraction here. 5. Why does it simplify to 5?
Because the negative divided by negative.
So a negative divided by a negative gives us a positive, and 30 divided by 6 gives us 5. So all simplifies to 5. You have to do these all in the right order. Why? Because this is the way that math is written. There are just certain rules that we've all agreed to follow. When you write things, here's how we write them so that everybody knows what order we're doing things in. And you need to get familiar with that. That's like it's like the language of math. Okay, you have to get your grammar right, or it's not going to make any sense. Okay, you could decide, right? Mathematicians could decide that the order of operations is actually different, and then we'd have to use parentheses differently. But this is the way that we do it.
Okay.
Get familiar with this, okay? Later on, we're going to get to you guys writing your own things to make sure that we do everything in the right order. Questions about this?
No.
I think it's pretty straightforward. All right. When we have combination of multiplication, division, or combination of addition and subtraction, how do we know what order to do them in? Remember,
Oh, you do it at
multiplication
the
and
same
division
time.
are the same step. So which one do we do first?
Neither you at the same time.
Okay, but we can't do two things in our head at a time. Yeah, we'll just go left to right. You could go right to left, but let's go left to right, just so, because that's the order we normally do things in. English, like most other languages, is written left to right, so we'll go left to right. Okay.
Wait, what other languages are written in that?
Arabic, Hebrew, at least sometimes, I think. All right, anyway, lab, that's about,
That's why you can't be able to read volume.
all right, that's about it for 13. So let me give you which ones you're going to do in 13. And you'll have over 20 minutes to do that.
20 minutes?
Yeah, no, lots of time. You might even be able to get some stuff done for some other classes.
Wee! Oh,
Whee!
yeah.
All right, so lesson
We
13.
don't have the papers.
Oh, man. You know, I think I might actually be out. I might have to send somebody to look at something. Hold on.
Send me.
Let me check.
No. You can trust and.
Yeah, go ahead, Ben. You know where they are?
No, you can count them. I'll go get some.
Does anybody know where they are?
No,
You just tell
I'm
me,
pretty
I'll
sure
go
you're
get
gonna get some.
Okay, so if you go down by outside Mr. Stolman's office,
Yeah,
you know where that is?
yeah, that's like the.
Okay, so like if you're looking, the printer's behind you and his office is in front of you.
Yeah.
On the left there's going to be a big shelf. On the sort of middle shelf of it, there should be a pull bunch.
Okay.
No, I'll be right back too.
What was that?
I'm gonna go with him. I'll be right back.
Sorry, no, have a seat. Sorry, I couldn't hear you. No. Take them on Wednesday. All right, 13. Here's the ones I want you to do. 2, 3, 4, 5. 10, 11. Dot, 25. 27, 28, 29. I don't know. Good question. All right. Goodbye.